Last time I was talking about joyous effort and stressing the part about effort. And it made me think about this quote that I've remembered many times, but probably not remembered right. And then I found the quote, so I thought I'd read it first and then talk about it. And this is in a book by Lama Tsongkhapa, but he's actually quoting Arya Sura. Is that right? Arya Sura. Anyway, the quote is, "Using only joyous perseverance, you will end up exhausted. If you practice with the aid of wisdom, you will achieve the great goal." And so I always remembered this part, that effort, I think I read it in Lama Tsongkhapa in a different volume, but I didn't find that one. Effort without wisdom leads to exhaustion is how I always remember it. And so I talked to Venerable Chodron about this once, because she has this advice for us to just keep showing up. And if you keep showing up, eventually, you'll transform your mind. But she said, when I asked her about that, and in reference to this quote, she said, well, of course you need to develop some wisdom in there too. So it's not enough just to have effort. And in this chapter, they're talking, although we need it, in this chapter they're referring to learning about how to achieve calm abiding, meditative stabilization of the mind. And the big point in this context, and why they're saying this, is that if you just make a lot of effort, you actually probably won't be able to really achieve it, because you need to have knowledge and you need to know what you're doing. So you can I think it's important to think about that. And I find when I'm working, doing maintenance kind of things, I've finally learned when I'm working too hard, making too much physical effort, I usually have the wrong tools, And I finally get to a point where I'm like, okay, this isn't really working too well here. I need to kind of rethink this. And over time, as you do one kind of endeavor in your life, you realize sooner that you're really striving too hard and making everything too hard, and you don't really quite have the right something yet. And I think that's true in our Dharma practice in many ways too. So they're saying in this context, it's certainly true in developing concentration. It's very easy to, without proper guidance, and even with proper guidance, there's so much to know about it to do it properly, and so many conditions and things you need to work on and work out, including developing, cultivating a lot of merit and doing a lot of purification. But I also think that it also happens in other parts of our Dharma practice, where we have to, I think for me, it makes me think about wisdom and what is wisdom. And I think that just from a practical standpoint, oftentimes we're not discerning things well enough. We're not discriminating things well enough. And then we just kind of conflate things in our mind, and it gets us into trouble. So that's one way I was thinking about this, is like, I think there's this, when you read that book, Debate, about what they're doing when they debate, they're always making these discernments, and they're categorizing things, what's what. And it was going to come down to, like, at some point, when we continue on this path, we're going to try to figure out what is the object of negation so that we can free ourselves from all of our suffering. And if we haven't discerned it right, but we think it's the right thing, then we're going to be on the wrong boat, and we're never going to achieve liberation or enlightenment. So this idea of discerning wisdom, and they even have that expression in Buddhism, discerning wisdom, we want to use that capability of our minds. And so that's, I think, I think that's generally one way to think about wisdom, is learning to discern, what's working in our practice, what isn't, what's wholesome, what's unwholesome. I mean, there's just so many things you can apply it to. So just remember, with only joyous perseverance, you will end up exhausted. If you practice with the aid of wisdom, you will achieve the great goal. So may we all continue with our efforts to do just this.